Good morning. Thanks for joining me on this live chapter reading from my new book, Be Weightless. I just need to preface this, if you're watching the replay or if you're watching this live, that there is a trigger warning to this chapter. I do delve into things like disordered eating, patterns and whatnot. And so if that's uncomfortable for you, this might not be a piece of the book that you would like to join in on. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be just choosing a little piece of chapter 1, just the first part, and we'll be on together for a little under 15 minutes, and I'm going to discuss it. Then I'm going to leave you with a journal entry from the Be Weightless action journal from this specific chapter. And if there's time, we'll have a little bit of a discussion. So if we have not met before, my name is Karen Wilson, and I am a creative professional and also author of the book Be Weightless. And today we're going to touch in chapter 1, which again, I will remind you that there is a tad bit of a trigger warning for disordered eating in this chapter. But without further ado, we're going to get started. So the title of chapter 1 is The Ugly Side of Weight Loss. Now, if you do not have the book, it's okay. You can read along with me by listening. And if you do want a copy of the book, you can find it through the link in my bio, of course, or just go to beweightless.ca. So let's begin. The Ugly Side of Weight Loss. Ready? All right. In grade 2, my mom signed me up for ballet classes, and we went to Eaton Center for a ballet outfit. The sales lady saw me in pink tights and told my mom, "She's so pretty, she's just a little under tall. She'll grow out of it. You'll see." I don't know, Mom said. She's got the Abel frame. If you weren't here last week, you learned that Abel is my maiden name. When I got to ballet class and saw my reflection in the mirror side by side the other girls, I could see my Abel frame too. One of the girls whispered, "You're too fat to be here." And the other girls giggled. So I quit ballet. On the first day in my new 4th grade class, a pretty blonde girl greeted me by stabbing me in the belly with her HB pencil and shouting, "You're fat." And everybody laughed. Boys teased me all the time, and sometimes even teachers would join in on the fun. They didn't mean harm. I'd be all nice and friendly and laugh along with them. I learned to be a good sport, to act like it didn't matter. At 22, I became a mom. When my son Jake was born, I was happy, joyful, and still the fat girl. A couple years later, while shopping for a dress to wear at a wedding, I tried on this emerald green floor-length dress, and the sales lady said, "Oh, it's very slimming." And of course, I bought it. That night, I did my hair up in curls, and I felt pretty and excited. I ate dinner in that slimming dress. Then I had seconds. I ate wedding cake, and I had seconds. I danced. I drank wine, lots of wine. It was homemade, and it was like nonstop. The next morning, the entire wedding party went out for breakfast. And as soon as I entered the restaurant, I could smell the layers of grease and eggs and coffee, and of course smell the stale alcohol on my breath. Excuse me, please. I need the bathroom. Maybe I shouldn't have done that just 2 weeks after gallbladder surgery. I was so sick, I thought I'd die. I could see the headline in the newspaper, "Girl dies in bathroom stall, leaves behind 3-year-old son." I can't die on my son Jake. I prayed for my life in that stall. I made a promise to God I'd do better if I was allowed to live. And it was ugly. I could hear my mom's voice saying, Karen, just go for a walk every day and you'll feel better. You'll begin to feel better. I began walking everywhere. I thought, I daydreamed. I felt my body getting smaller. As I became fitter, I walked faster. I got a second job in a department store where I had to run up and down stairs to get stock. It became effortless. The weight was melting off. At work one day, I was hustling from department to department, and I spotted a woman. And I was like, wow, she looks good. I'm that person, if I notice that there's an attractive woman, I'm like, I think to myself, wow, she's very pretty. I halted in my tracks and I took a couple steps back and I looked again and it was a mirror. Of course, I turned to one side and I look at my butt, and then I turn to the other side and I look at my butt. Damn, can I take this mirror home? People started saying things like, holy crap, it looks like you lost a whole person. I noticed it's easier to get promoted, easier to exceed my sales quotas, easier to get almost anything that I want. And guys are asking me out like crazy. My doctor is even happy with me for the very first time in my life. I'm living a dream and I'm having nightmares that I'm going to lose it all. If only everyone knew I'm counting individual blueberries to make sure that I'm not exceeding my calorie count. When the compliments stop, I worry. Am I doing enough? One night, after many beers with my neighbor, I open the freezer and I pull out an unopened 16-pack of Smartie cookies. The ones that you get from Costco? Well, I had put them in the freezer for later that week to have on a cheat day. I'm just going to have one, I said. And then 20 minutes later, there's like 4 left in the container. Oh my gosh, what have I done? So I raced to the bathroom, stuck my finger down the throat, and nothing. I grabbed my toothbrush, stuck that down my throat. Seriously, I can't even throw up, right? I'm going to be stuck with all these calories. How can you be so stupid, Karen? I could hear myself getting fatter by the second. I began jamming my finger down my throat one more time when I spy myself in the mirror, hunched over the sink, and that's when I saw it. What ugly really looks like. And I knew what I wanted. I wanted to get back to the start, where my only expectation of myself was to feel better, not to look better. I had to get out of this place where enough was never going to be enough. How am I going to get back to that? The voices were quiet, and no one saw it, because for the majority of the time, I didn't even see really what was happening either. I was a very happy, optimistic, loving, and kind woman, and, I was known for bringing sunshine to the room. But the ugly whispers, they would catch me. I would hear them in my ear, and they'd change my mood about how I'd feel about myself. And those moments always happened when I was alone, or sometimes out in public, feeling uncomfortable in my skin. When I decided to choose a new identity, some of my patterns changed. Some people may say I was running from my problems, but I knew what I was doing. I felt like I was walking into the life I deserved, the life I had scratched and clawed for. Sometimes I felt like I deserved it. I now had the man by my side, my husband, Barry. And I knew at that moment, at that time, that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. And his daughter, whom I had, I could see her as mine, right? I could see her as mine. Barry was really great with Jake, my son, and he had a great job. And even though I was a single mom with no education, living in the hood, he saw me. He really saw me. So what did I do to step over and step into that new identity? Barry got a new job in Salmon Arm, and I packed up all of my son Jake's and my stuff, and we followed. That's as far into chapter 1 that I'm going to go today. Next week, we will discuss, we'll go through another chunk of the chapter. This is a very, very big chapter, this one. It kind of really sets the stage for the whole book. But I want to just stop right there and discuss for a minute about the whole thing about body image and how we feel about ourselves. And one of the things that had stopped me from writing a book around weight loss, and one of, was that when I lost the weight, it didn't make things better. It actually feels like at times it was worse. I was struggling hard to figure out how to identify as this new person that everybody just thought was wonderful. And the more weight I lost, the more validation I got that was the best. The more validation I had from other people that said, wow, you're so awesome, because I was smaller. So the more and more that got ingrained, the more fear I had of gaining the weight back and losing my identity and losing that great spot that for the previous 27 years of my life was not who I was. So there's this new identity that I'm coming into. I don't know how to handle it, and I'm having this big struggle with myself and how to learn how to maintain what I've done and identify with the changes that are made, with people asking me out that never used to ask me out, friends that were my guy friends that were safe, and all of a sudden the ones I had crushes on, I was all of a sudden attractive back to them. And it was just this completely new thing. I felt like I could not be my happy, jolly self. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this topic next week, which is what I talk about in the chapter as we move through this first chapter. And we're going to talk about those feelings and how to move through them. And if you're watching the replay on this, please go ahead and feel free to send me a message privately if you don't want to have the comments. But I'd love to hear your take on this. And I'm going to leave you with a question from the Be Weightless journal. I want you to take a moment to reflect in your life. And have you ever held yourself back? Me into my reading, right? Okay, take a moment to reflect on your life. Have you ever held yourself back from something because of how you felt about the way you looked? And explain. Now, the purpose behind this is to change how we feel about ourselves, whether we're 20 pounds up or 20 pounds down. Because if we learn to like our bodies just as we are, that's when the envelope opens and we're allowed to truly love ourselves. When we love ourselves, we have a bigger capacity to love everyone else and have everyone else feel loved. And I've always felt like, the more love that is surrounding us, we just kind of feel better. The world's a better place, right? Thank you for hanging out with me for this last little bit, and I will see you next week. Take care.